1919 was an auspicious year in history. The First World War ended, ushering a drastic change in the world order. The Philippine Islands had been a U.S. territory for 2 decades and was promised independence under the Jones Law of 1916. Progressive reformers saw the country and its people as a major target for modernization. And education was its main weapon. Seven forward-looking Filipinas came together in 1919 to create a school where young women could gain the knowledge and skills that would make them modern women. Paz Marquez Benitez was the first president of the Philippine Women's College. Jose Abad Santos was its first chairman of the Board of Trustees. Francisca Tirona Benitez was the second president, and with her husband, Dean Conrado, guided the school from a house on A. Flores Street to its iconic Taft Avenue campus. In 1932, the college became a university, making PWU the first university for women in Asia founded by Asians. It provided a space where innovations in education flourished, and young people were encouraged to be the best that they could be. For over 100 years, the Philippine Women's University has been known as a leader in quality education. In 1934, PWU moved into its main campus on Taft Avenue, and since the 1970s has been co-educational. Located in the heart of Metro Manila, it is easily accessible by public transport and surrounded by affordable housing. Today's PWU offers undergraduate and graduate courses in several fields of study. Its business and management programs are responsive to the needs of industry, using evolving technology for global competence. PWU graduates excel in arts and sciences, education, social work, and diplomacy. Its fine arts and music programs have produced outstanding graduates through a holistic education that treasures heritage as well as excellence. PWU has pioneered in fields such as food science, nutrition and dietetics, medical technology, pharmacy, and nursing. PWU continues to play an essential role in producing graduates who possess the skills that make them competitive in the country and anywhere in the world.
We are a united community.
We may not be blood related,
but we Patriots are one big family.
Being part of the PWU community strengthens us.
Through the years, we support each other through good times and bad times.
We Patriots always have each other's back.
It's a big honor to be part of a community that is open to the ideas of each other.
It drives us to excel and be the best version of ourselves.
That's the standard of excellence that we Patriots strive for.
I'm thankful that this community lets us be who we want to be.
We thrive because we accept each other for who we are.
And like a family, we treat each other equally.
Actually, PWU gave us a home and helped us to be a patriot in society.
We may have different individual drums and instruments,
but we march with the same beat together as one united community.
Do you want to march with our community of patriots?
I am a patriot.
I am a patriot.
I am a patriot. I am a patriot.
Welcome to the PWU Doctors of Hospitality Management webinar entitled Trailblazing, the Framework of Human Resource Management, Navigating the Pandemic and Beyond. To start with the program proper, let us all pause for a while for our opening prayer to be led by Mr. Eugenito Gaviola, a DHM student, to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
We begin this prayer by putting ourselves in the presence of our Lord. Our ever-loving Father, the core of every reason, the source of truth, you who made the earth and the heavens, are the ultimate goal of every knowledge seeker. The infinite wisdom, the cause of all that is good. We are truly grateful for this opportunity to gather together in this webinar as community. Despite the challenges we face each day, yet you remain and give us strength to carry on the responsibilities of bearing intelligence and using them for better purposes. We now humbly ask you to join us in our endeavor to explore the wonders of life and the world for knowledge chain. That in whatever we learn today, we become more grateful, grounded to you, who is truth, who is love. We pray that you bless our speakers, the fount of your infinite knowledge, that they can share something worthwhile. Despite the limited time we have, they can channel all they know and share to us the beauty and truth of living as your child. We pray that you guide our participants, the seekers of your boundless knowledge, that they may continue to persevere in the search and be deemed worthy to share what they will learn from today's session. Sanctify us, O Lord, not because we are worthy of it, but because we believe in your love and mercy, that at the end of today, we can take something that's amazing and meaningful. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Kayang magiliw, pero saan sinanganan? Alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyat ka ng magiting. Sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw. May dilagang tulat, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiligdig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw ng at ipagsintabay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mga ami ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Mabuhay, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasant and wonderful day to all the participants, guests, students, admin officials, and to the rest of the beautiful people joining us today in Facebook and YouTube Live all over the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Chef Abram Emmanuel Peralta, a proud PWDHM student, and now introducing my co-moderator for this afternoon, Mr. Eugene Benicta. Sir Eugene?
Good afternoon, partner, and a warm mabuhay to each and everyone. So, my name is Mr. Eugene Emmanuel Benicta, and I am also a proud Philippine Women's University DHM student. So, for the past years of this global pandemic, the hospitality and tourism industry was and will always be in the forefront of the shaking industry. We, together with the numbers of managers and entrepreneurs in the Philippines and around the world, have the same challenges. How can we continue business and operations with a limited workforce on this most unstable sector?
That is true, Sir Eugene. That is true, partners. Stability, resiliency, and innovations are always the topic in every seminars and forums of PWU and other institutions, offering as a forum to support the community and our industry, to further our learning, and to get access in the hospitality innovations and all the support of this shaking industry. And that is why the Philippine Women's University Doctors of Hospitality Management students have curated an advanced webinar for this afternoon entitled Trailblazing, the framework of human resource management, navigating the pandemic and beyond.
So for this afternoon, partner, we will be in the presence of the most prominent names in the human resource industry who will serve as the catalyst of the new normal way of human resource management. And they will be properly introduced later. But before we start our event, let us be reminded of this some webinar etiquette through this acronym, PWU. Okay? P, prepare your notes and pens and write down new and updated industry information. W, work with technology. Please feel free to use the comment box and the reaction button on both FB and YouTube Live to converse well with the organizers and the speakers as we go throughout this entire event. And letter U, understand and use the knowledge and new learnings that the speakers will be sharing with us today to further improve our quest in the resiliency in the human resource industry.
Wow, thank you very much, Sir Eugene. A great way to recall the reminders of this webinar, P, W, and U. To all our beloved audiences, are you all ready to start the program for this afternoon? May I see reactions and heart buttons or heart reactions in the FB Live? There you go, there you go. We are seeing 425 participants and increasing in numbers. Perfect. Again, thank you everybody for joining us in this event. The Philippine Women's University Graduate School of Hospitality Management warmly welcomes you all in this webinar entitled Trailblazing, the framework of human resource management, navigating the pandemic and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, to give us her opening remarks, may we call in the very passionate leader and the chairwoman of this webinar, Ms. Jackie Jamante. Ms. Jackie.
Hello, everyone. We welcome you all this afternoon as we learn from our distinguished guests in human resource in the webinar entitled Trailblazing, the framework of human resource management, navigating the pandemic and beyond. Again, we welcome you.
Thank you very much, our dear chairperson, Miss Jackie. Okay? And I know you are all waiting for this. So without further delay, okay, we will be starting with our first speaker. And to introduce him, may we call on to the virtual floor one of the DHM organizers, Miss Joanne Abadejos Abad.
Good day, everyone. I would like to introduce to you our first speaker. Our first speaker is a young, highly skilled, experienced, talented, and accomplished hospitality professional with profound expertise in planning, organizing, and directing wide range of hotel operational and human resources activities. He is a recognized senior member of Royal Institute of Hospitality Management conferred by the Royal Institute of Singapore. He humbly started his career as a butler and progressively promoted as an assistant operations manager in Pan Pacific, Manila, known as the first and finest hotel in the Philippines, and awarded as the Philippines' leading business hotel for several times. He was in charge for managing the room's operation in Butler Department and was once awarded as a manager of the quarter. After which he joined one of the country's top consultancy firms as the director for hospitality and food service operations, fully in charge in providing top-notch consultancy services to various hotels, restaurants, resorts, and casinos in Manila, Philippines. He was heavily involved for LQA and Forbes Quality Standards audit. He assisted the pre-opening team of Club Med Fanalu Villas in the Maldives for HR-related policies and procedures and the setup of its butler department. He was part of the Philippines' leading food conglomerate as the complex training and development director, handling and overseeing learning and organizational development initiatives of multiple upscale and Michelin star restaurants in the Philippines, such as Todd English Food Hall, Pound by Todd English, Sunny's Cafe, Food by David Alzeny, and Hook by Todd English, to the name few. Currently, he is a corporate senior manager, human resources, handling all learning and development initiatives and strategies of SM Hotels and Conventions Corporation for the existing hotels, resorts, clubs, and convention centers. He also focuses on the HR preparations of the pre-opening properties. He is an active member of the Royal Institute of Hospitality Management, Aspire Globally, and IGBH, or the International Guild of Butlers and Household Managers. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please let us welcome our first speaker, Mr. R.L. Fernando Garcia.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, my dear PW Patriots. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay, so thank you very much, School of Hospitality Management, and thank you, Dr. Blanco, for this opportunity to be with your future doctors. Wow, congratulations first of all for organizing this event. And for today, I am very, very excited to share in the next 15 to 20 minutes how our company alleviated the situation of our employees and what was exactly our role in the human resources as we navigate this pandemic. To give you a background, my dear participants, I joined SM Hotels and Conventions Corp 2017. So that was 5 years ago. And during that time, one of the main projects that I have to deliver was actually to establish the leadership program of SM Hotels and Conventions Corp to all our properties. And during that time, we were talking about around 8 hotels and 14 convention centers. So with that in mind, in 2019, I went through the different properties of SM Hotels and Conventions Corp. As you can see in the picture, I have trained the general managers, ex-coms, department heads, and senior managers of all the hotels and convention centers under the SM group of companies. But as we all know, 2020, the pandemic hit our industry. At this point, I would like to dedicate 1 minute to ask all the participants, maybe Mr. Abram and Mr. Eugene, you can help me with this quick activity. So in the chat box, I would like you to share to me, what are the emotions that you have felt during the lockdown period? Don't worry, no, this is not an exam. Just feel free. Tell me honestly, what were the emotions you have felt during the lockdown period? Can you describe those emotions to me in the chat box? And maybe Mr. Abram and Mr. Eugene can read some of the responses.
Okay. Sir Abram, you're on mute.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Okay.
Thank you. Some of those responses said fear of uncertainty.
Uncertainty, okay.
Depression.
Depression.
Hopeless.
Oh, hopeless.
Fear.
Pain.
And so on.
How about you, Mr. Abram? Sorry to put you on the spotlight. Since you are very active right now, what are the emotions that you have felt during the lockdown period, personally?
Well, personally, sir, really the uncertainty, if our industry will return back to the normal. That's the first fear that we have really on mind.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Eugene? Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
No worries, sir.
What was the emotion or emotion?
I think it's a mixed sort of emotion. Fear on the other side, but happiness on the other side, because I had the chance to have more time with my family. However, there's this fear of uncertainty. You don't know what will happen in the future, or how long will the world be experiencing this kind of challenge.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for those who participated in the chat box. I have asked that because we have to understand that 100% of the employees in the hospitality industry are still human beings. And same with you, my dear future doctors. The same exact set of emotions were also felt by our employees. Just like any other problems in our industry, for us to propose a solution, we have to first understand the problem. And in the human resources department or field, our top priority is to understand our employees. And since I am talking to future doctors, when I was preparing my presentation, it feels like I am obligated to also cite some studies and journals published about the current topic. So allow me to share this publication, journal, or research of Levkovich and Shinan 2021. On their research, they have identified the top concerns and emotions employees felt during the pandemic. And I'm sure some of you in the chat box already identified some of these concerns and emotions. Number one, the sense of shock and chaos. So with all the participants on this study claimed that when the lockdown period came in, there was a sense of shock and chaos. Second, the notion or the thinking of how will I adjust to the demand of this new reality. And as confirmed by Sir Abram and Sir Eugene, the fears, the anxiety and concerns for self and family. So having this in mind, when the pandemic hit our industry, and remember one of our properties is the Alvesta Hotel. So if you will remember, prior to pandemic, they have already faced the Taal eruption that was early 2020. So all our 257 employees in Taal Vista Hotel already had this some sort of anxiety, no, because of Taal eruption. And then the pandemic hit us. So just imagine how anxious our employees during the time were. So having this in mind, us in the head office really sat down and asked ourselves, we are experiencing a situation that no book can help us propose strategies. We all know that the last pandemic happened 100 plus years ago. And the things that they have done 100 years ago, there's no guarantee that we can immediately apply it right now. And therefore, after some thought, no, and series of meetings, we have came across this word or concept about mindfulness. So mindfulness, if you're going to describe it by definition, it refers to the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we are doing, and not, so kindly take note of this phrase, not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Many of us will associate mindfulness to yoga and a type of exercise. But actually, the concept of mindfulness gave us the hope to help our employees during the pandemic. So we've started to research about what mindfulness is and how mindfulness can help us put strategies in human resources to alleviate the current or the situation of our employees during the time of pandemic. Another study that I would like to highlight in today's conference was the study of Chen and Iun 2021, wherein in their study, they have said that when employees develop fear of COVID-19 and worry about the possibility of job loss, they become overwhelmed and consumed by those thoughts. It is a reality that really happened during the time of pandemic. Those who can stay in the present and experience the emotions as they occur are more capable to cope with the strain. So as you can see on this statement, they are implying that the first step to overcome the fear is to acknowledge the uncertainty, to acknowledge the emotions, to acknowledge the feelings. Because after that, you can better understand how you can move forward. When fear is approached and treated mindfully, it becomes less formidable, which helps people gain the flexibility to feel safe during stress. Having this in mind, our group decided to launch what we call SM Hotels and Conventions Corp Road to Recovery. So we launched this Q2 of 2021, Q4 of 2021, with the hope that we are already heading towards the road to recovery. And when we have launched this to all our properties, we said that all our employees are requested to set up what we call mindful goals. Because we said during that time that mindful goals will help our companies recover. And in fact, recovery is already part of our 5-year strategic direction. I think it's not complicated to understand that all companies right now, the goal is to recover. And we have defined what mindful goals are. We said that mindful goals will help the company accelerate the recovery. Mindful goals are goals that will strengthen human capital value as SM Hotels and Conventions Corp through asset. This is very important to us, the second bullet in the human resources development, because we said and we recognize how important our employees are as we recover. We have strengthened the definition that our employees will always be and will forever be the company's true asset. And these mindful goals as well will help us get ready for the upturn. So this is our way of telling our employees that yes, we are experiencing this different negative or various negative emotions because of pandemic, but this is not yet the end. With the help and the confirmation of the C family and the support of the top management of SM Hotels and Conventions Corp, we have reinforced that feeling of hope to our employees that there's still a future waiting for us. We want them to be empowered with that feeling as they contribute to our road to recovery. And to be more specific, we've also launched what we call Project Heal in human resources and development. So Project Heal is an acronym that says holistic engagement activities and lifestyle sessions. We all know that this pandemic forced us to socially distance to each other. Diba? Ang dami. We have experienced different levels of different alert levels, level 3, level 2, level 1. And then prior to that, we had different kinds of quarantines. We had GCQ, MECQ, ECQ, and all those Qs. And because of this, the social needs of our employees to interact to each other was deprived. So again, it poses a lot of challenges in the human resources field on how we can satisfy these social needs because we are all social animals. It is a need there is always a need for us to interact and feel the emotions of other people. And therefore, part of this Project Heal are the innovative projects of HR to continuously focus on the well-being of our employees, encouraging them to be mindful as they contribute to SMHC's road to recovery. And to give you a framework on how did we implement this Project Heal, we have focused on these 4 areas of well-being. We call it the 4 main pillars of well-being. The first one is mental and emotional. Remember, in the beginning of this seminar, I have asked you about the emotions. Because as human beings, emotions are integral part of our daily lives. Today, we are happy. Later, we will be sad. Tomorrow, we will be excited. We are living with different emotions, and it's a fact. And the pandemic reinforces that fact that us people, especially in the hospitality industry, we heavily rely on these emotions whenever we serve our guests, whenever we serve our fellow team members, and therefore, we will always go back to this same set of emotions when we are talking about recovery. And to support our employees, we have organized various talks like this on, maybe virtually lang naman, on how we can help them better manage their mental health and how they can manage their various emotions brought about by the pandemic. In fact, for 2021, up until this time, we always make sure that every quarter we have various mental health talks and lifestyle courses that we offer to our employees to ensure that they have this knowledge and information on hand as they contribute to our road to recovery. The second aspect is physical. This is very challenging because pandemic actually restricted us to be together. Just like what we're having right now, we are in this digital divide world and still we are sharing to each other, but nothing beats the face-to-face interaction. But we don't have any choice but to come up with, again, innovative ways on how we can promote physical well-being to our employees. One of the recent projects that we have implemented, we have encouraged our employees to download some apps about sleep. So these apps, we have asked them to monitor their sleep hours, and we have given awards to those with the highest number of average number of hours of sleep, because it is our way of encouraging our employees to get enough sleep. Another project that we have implemented in terms of physical well-being was another app that we have asked them to download and have on their phone, wherein that app will monitor the number of steps that they have gained every day. And those employees with the highest number of steps on a weekly basis, now we monitor that, will also receive award. We incentivize them because it is, again, our way of encouraging them that even you are sitting for 8 hours, especially for those reporting in the back office, please, you have find time to walk and find time to do some physical works, because again, it is connected to their overall well-being. The third part is financial. So same with the first one, mental and emotional health, we have also organized various talks on how our employees can better manage their finances, especially during the time of pandemic. And we are also privileged that during the time of pandemic, our owners, the C family, were very, very supportive, because there was, I think, 2 months time during the strictest time of lockdown that they have provided full salary to all our employees, despite of the fact that many of the hotels were not operational. And I think that malasakit of the C family reinforced that trust among our employees that they are part of a company that truly shows malasakit to its employees. And having that said, it also helped us reinforce that hope, that call to be mindful as we move forward. And up until now, we continue to provide relevant financial talks to our employees on how they can better prepare for the future. And of course, lastly, community well-being. We have started to also go back to our CSR activities in helping our wider community, especially that we are linked with SM Foundation. And because of this, we are leveraging that connection to the institution to reach wider communities and come up with projects that will also benefit them, and equally will also help our employees focus on their well-being. And since we're talking about mindfulness, I am very mindful with the allocated time given to me. I can talk more about the projects that we have implemented, but I would like to end my quick presentation with a wrap up that this pandemic really challenged human resources as an integral part of corporate strategy, because we have realized that at the end of the day, we will always go back to the basic, which is about understanding our employees. And when we say understanding our employees in human resources field, it is very important that you have an open communication and a listening heart, no, not just a listening ears to all your employees, because that will be the main starting point for you to come up with projects that will be relevant to what they are actually experiencing at. In fact, during pandemic, despite of the threat of COVID-19, my team members in the corporate office, we've chose to really go to our properties from Luzon to Mindanao to really understand what our employees are going through during that time. Because we know that virtually it is not enough for us to understand what's happening on ground. And in the hospitality industry, as a service industry, especially during the time that all our hotels were quarantine hotels, it's very challenging for our employees to cope up. And we felt that during that time, more than ever, our presence truly matters. And thankfully, our team, no one of us or nobody got infected, maybe because with the guidance of the Lord. But of course, we've also practiced minimum health standards. But at the end of the day, I would like to end this quick session with the doctors to remind you that this pandemic called human resources professionals to be more active when it comes to understanding the employees, maintaining open communication, and always being mindful with the current situation, as I have shared a while ago. So with that, thank you very much. And I don't know if this is the perfect time to ask questions, but I will leave that to the moderators. But I will be staying until the end of this seminar to entertain some questions or inquiries. Thank you.
And there you have it. Thank you, Mr. R.L. Fernando Garcia, the Corporate and Senior Human Manager of Human Resources of SM Hotels and Convention Corporation. Truly, sir, those are excellent additions in our preparation, in re-envisioning the new culture of human resource in the hospitality and tourism industry. Sir, we actually applaud you and the whole SM group for a job well done in this 2 years of the pandemic. We applaud specifically your programs, SMHCCs, the Road to Recovery, the Project Heal, that really strikes us the most right now. We keep on asking ourselves, if small businesses are really struggling, what more is SM? What more are really those big of companies? Maraming salamat. These are standards that is really close to our hearts. Thank you, Mr. R.L. Fernando. And of course, we will see you in a bit for the open forum or the panel discussion. Thank you again, Mr. R.L. And now, to introduce our second speaker, may we call on Ms. Evelyn Orlazan Velasco. Ma'am Evelyn, the floor is yours.
A pleasant day, everyone. It is indeed my honor to present to you our next speaker. He started his journey with the current affiliated company last 2009 as a student trainee from the University of the Philippines. After his internship, he landed a role as a clerk in the Talent and Culture Division. He worked his way up in succeeding years until reaching his current position. Our honorable speaker is the chairman of the New World Cooperative, an organization of associates from the New World Makati Hotel that provides financial assistance and services to its members. He is also active in his local community where he serves as a lector, commentator in the parish of the Lord of the Divine Mercy in Quezon City. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our honorable speaker for today, Mr. Edberg Joseph Corduce, the Director of Talent and Culture of New World Makati Hotel. Virtual round of applause, please.
Thank you, Joy. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing fine at the comforts of your home. Tama ba? Are you at home now? Like me. Okay, so yes, allow me to share my screen. Is it up already? Can you see it now? All right. Okay, so here you go. So I'm representing New World Makati Hotel, and the topic that I'll be covering for this afternoon, or at least for the next 20 minutes, right? For the next 20 minutes is this: the challenges of HR in the hospitality industry in embracing remote work. So I've heard earlier from Mr. Garcia that yes, I fully agree. Companies or HR would need to be sensitive, would need to listen well to the needs of its associates. And maybe from my experience, I would really agree on that. And something that I would like to share also is that as HR, we need to do this balancing act. We HR work is also a balancing act. We need to listen to the needs of our employees. At the same time, we need to be sensitive to the direction of the management. And I think remote work or hybrid work at least is really a balancing act. And here's how I intend to tackle it. So I'll be making a very quick introduction about the property that I'm representing. I'll be touching on the impact of the pandemic to the hotels. I'll be sharing the challenges on why we should not allow remote work, but at the same time, I would like to balance it out by saying why we should consider allowing remote work. Now, full disclosure, I am on this, when it comes to this debate, I am actually recommending that we allow some flexibility, that we consider remote work. But yes, again, this is a balancing act that we need to do. So to be objective about it, I'll be sharing both sides, both arguments for both sides. So maybe we can assess later on if this is something that is worthwhile to do for our company. And that would be my conclusion later on. So about me, yeah, I won't elaborate on this, but for New World Makati Hotel, New World Makati Hotel is a property of New World Hotels and Resorts under the Rosewood Hotel Group, and our market is really for upper upscale, and we offer modern luxury accommodations in different locations. The group itself was started by Dr. Cheng in the year 1978. If you will do your research, according to Forbes, Dr. Cheng is actually one of the richest person in the world. And ever since, he has plans for the property, for the group, and he has redefined Asian hospitality with a long-term view for the future, with the need to always be locally relevant. Our properties across the globe are in key locations, as you can see here on the map. And for New World Makati Hotel specifically, we are a five-star property located in Makati Central Business District. We've been operating for more than 27 years. So ako naman po, hindi po ako 27 years na with New World. I've been with the company for for 12 years already, as shared earlier. And then we are located right across Greenbelt 3. So if you're familiar with the area, Greenbelt 3 is a home to luxury brands. And we have 580 rooms with several restaurants and bars and meeting spaces. If you want to know more about updates from our company, especially the career opportunities, I invite you to follow our LinkedIn page, as you can see here. Okay, so that's it for New World Makati Hotel. But how has the pandemic impacted our property? Or for most hotels in the Philippines or in the world actually. So obviously, the pandemic has impacted us in several ways. One of them is because of the travel restrictions, we had to redefine our clientele. Like SM Hotels earlier, they shifted to quarantine market. For New World Makati Hotel, yes, we are actually a multiple use hotel now, which means that some of our floors, they are being used for quarantine needs, but some of our floors, we are already catering to staycation. We were able to secure the necessary permits for it. But this is something that we haven't really, of course, it's not a reality before. But because of the pandemic, we had to adapt to the situation. Market demand for hotels has been limited. No? Even though we are catering to staycation now, I would like to be honest that there are still segments of the market that are still hesitant, no, of going outside. Even if we are not, we are now at alert level 1, there are still who would prefer to be safe at the confines of their home, right? And yes, we've heard several news about this. The pandemic has impacted the hotels by pushing them to implement closure to several degrees. Some companies, they implemented partial closure, which means that yes, the hotel is still operating, but they had to close down their restaurants, they had to close down their gym, now, which I think this is the case also for New World Makati Hotel. Temporary closure. We also did this when the lockdowns were implemented last March 16, 2020. Now we were thinking that the lockdown will just last for maybe 2 weeks or 1 month at most. But yeah, we all know what happened. No? So after several weeks, when we had this realization that the pandemic will be lasting for a longer time, we decided to finally open our hotel. At first, we were very hesitant. We did not want to compromise the health of our workers. We did not want that risk of entertaining quarantine stays. But yes, we needed to cope with the situation. We needed to survive in order to avoid the third one, which is permanent closure. No? So for those of us in the industry, I'm sure you've heard of several hotels closing down during this pandemic. No? So it's a very sad reality that even major brands were severely affected. The point that I'm driving at here is that, well, needless to say, the pandemic has greatly disrupted hotel work. And the disruption has actually impacted our workforce in several ways. First one, we had to implement temporary suspension or reduction of pay or benefits. So the Department of Labor and Employment has actually released some guidelines that because of the extraordinary situation, they're giving some leeway for the companies to do this. No? Of course, if you're familiar with the labor law, diminution of benefits is actually not allowed. But because of the extraordinary situation, we're already thinking about the survival of the company. Dole was quite lenient for a time. There are some guidelines that they have released on how to proceed with this. There's also an obvious reduction of headcount. It might have been voluntary, meaning it's the employees or the workers who initiated the decision to leave the company. But for some companies, it has been voluntary, meaning the company decided to let go of the workers, no, through retrenchment or redundancy. Implementation of multi-skilling. You can look at this two ways. No? One is that, yeah, it can be quite challenging to the worker because this person who's not really adept at doing this other work will have to do it in order for the company to cope up. But I see this also as an opportunity for us to further develop the talents of our team members. No? So yes, there's that impact to the workforce. And this is obvious. We had to adopt new normal protocols. As you can see here in the photo, our front office associate had to wear face mask and face shield. At that time, when the rule about face shield was not yet updated, we also had to make use of acrylic barriers. We had to be mindful of the frequent touch points. As you can see here, there are two boxes. One box for used ball pen and the other one is for sanitized ball pen. So we really had to revisit our operations. We had to be mindful of the safety, not only of our guests, but also of our colleagues at work. And more in line with the topic that I'll be covering is this. As with most industries, no, it's not just for hotels, but with most industries, the pandemic made some hotel properties consider remote or hybrid work when applicable. So let me now move on to the next part, the challenges on allowing remote work. When the lockdown was first implemented, March 16, 2020, I recall that the company only decided to allow me to work remotely on April 7. So you see, it was only after 3 weeks before they decided to go with remote work. And there are some perceived challenges. I'm not saying that this is a challenge that we had in New World Makati Hotel, but this is based on my conversation also with counterparts in other hotels. One of the perceived challenge is that hybrid work is a hassle as it hinders coordination and communication. So imagine for us in the Talent and Culture Division, I'm in Quezon City. My team member is in Laguna. My other team member is in Batangas. No? If we are doing the hybrid or remote work, there's really this challenge on how we can reach out to each other. If there are updates that I needed to share with them, if we are just confined in one office space, it's very easy. I ask them to go to my office, then we discuss. No? But with the situation, there's this hassle, there's this hindrance of coordinating and communicating. Speed and quality are also sacrificed when doing remote work, no? Or at least based on the perception of some, no? Because they're not able to see their team members, and it takes some effort to cascade some information. So some would feel that the speed and quality might have been sacrificed because of this unique arrangement. And then also this one, but I actually have thoughts on this. According to some, work from home grants workers with too much freedom, no? Too much freedom. Because you cannot see your team members, you might have this impression that they might not be working, no? They might be just watching Netflix, no? So I hope that's not the case for my team, because I understand that there's a team member who's watching me through Facebook Live, no? So yes, there's this impression that because the your team members, you cannot supervise them directly, or at least you cannot see them physically, they might be enjoying too much freedom. No? That's a perceived challenge. But let me now move on to the actual challenges. These are the concerns that I feel. The first one, those are the challenges that can be addressed in several ways. But I think one key solution to that is to adjusting the mindset. No, because if you say that the person is having too much freedom, then perhaps you just do not practice enough trust to your team members, no? Which I think is not healthy in an organization. But for these actual challenges, I think there are other fixes that can be done. So let me go through them. This is a reality. Before the pandemic, no other hotel or no actual worker has done it before. No? And I can say that for hotels, at least in Makati, no, we are closely knit. Whenever we try to implement some changes, we often benchmark with each other. We try to ask our counterparts, okay, have you done this? There's this new guideline from Department of Labor and Employment. How do you intend to operationalize it? No? So if there's no hotel that has done or has fully embraced remote work or hybrid work, then I think it will be a challenge for other companies, other hotel companies, to proceed with it. No? Because other hotels are not doing it, so why should we do it? No? That's the common thinking that we can encounter in embracing remote work. Next one, hotel work or hybrid work is not applicable to all hotel jobs. As you can see here in the slides, we have chefs. I don't think you can ask a chef to cook from home. No, you cannot ask a room attendant to set up the room from home. No, so you get the point. For our population, we have roughly 300. It's not even 1/3 of the population that can do remote work. And I'm referring to those in the admin, like HR or talent and culture, finance, sales and marketing. No? So if this is something that the company would want to implement, they had to get through that challenge of saying that, of convincing everyone that this is a fair thing to do, no? Because it's only a certain number of workers that can benefit from this. So that's an actual challenge that we'll have to address if we are really serious about embracing remote work. I mentioned this earlier, so I guess I won't elaborate on this. Remote work or hybrid work is often perceived or misperceived by management as a hustle. And also, most hotels are not practically prepared to adopt remote work. No? In fact, for the case of New World Makati Hotel, before the pandemic, most of our devices are desktop computers. It is only recently that the company has shifted its stance, that it's more open, and in fact, it's already a policy that the company would consider laptops for the device that will be assigned to the person. Okay, aside from the actual computer, you have to consider how will you get the files? No? How will you get the files that are stored in the server? How will you communicate with your team members? How will you monitor their time in and time out? How about the documents that will need several signatures? Right. So these are things that we were able to eventually address. No, but for those who are still on the fence about adopting remote work, these are things that you need to consider before you can proceed with remote work. You should be practically prepared to adopt it. And lastly, on my list of actual challenges is the recent shift to alert level 1 in NCR. And I say this because I think there's this impression for everyone that, yeah, we're already in alert level 1. I think this is the new normal already. And if things are already getting back to normal, then perhaps the right thing to do is to already go back to the ways of doing things before. No? Again, I would have my thoughts about this, but yes, it's a mindset that we need to eventually address. No, maybe, yeah, they're thinking that things are already getting back to normal. So, is it really proper to also go back to normal? So let me balance this discussion with the sharing of some considerations why I think it's healthy, why I think it's agreeable to allow remote work. So one, it promotes retention. It is only during this pandemic that we have encountered, of course, pandemic as their reason for resignation. No, a lot of our associates have resigned because of the pandemic. That's what they're saying in their resignation letters. And I think, at least for those in the administrative side, if you will implement hybrid or remote work, you'll be able to encourage retention. Obviously, these workers, they are hesitant to report on site because there is still that risk of contracting the virus. No? And maybe aside from just thinking of themselves, they're also thinking about their family members. No? Do they want to be the carrier of the virus? No, in doing their work, in reporting daily, in commuting, in traveling, do they want to contract the virus and bring it to their homes? I don't think so. No, so doing hybrid work or remote work, we believe, can promote retention. It also expands your talent pool. So what do I mean by this? Previously, you might only want to consider those living in your city or in nearby cities. But if you are keen on proceeding with remote work or hybrid work, then you are already opening your market to those who are staying perhaps in nearby provinces, those who are willing to travel on a few days per week. No, compared with before, if you will require them to report on-site full-time, obviously it will be a challenge to convince them to join you in your company. We also believe that doing hybrid work or remote work can make workers happy. We have this monthly activity with our associates wherein we meet with them and we ask for their feedback. And I can say that one of the common sentiments that we hear from those in the admin is that they would want hybrid work or remote work to be the norm, even if even if things normalize. Because of the situation, of course, they're able to see now that commuting for 1 or 2 hours a day is not really productive, no? When in fact you can spend that time with your family, or maybe giving extra time for your deliverables at work. No, so yes, we believe that hybrid work can make workers happy. It also encourages diversity and inclusion. During this pandemic, some of the resignees include single parents, those who are breadwinners. No? So they're the only ones who are capable of going outside. Perhaps they're living with their parents who are already at that age that are quite at risk if they go out. No? So if we will allow some flexibility in the reporting arrangement, then yes, we can have a more diverse population. And there's a lot of research saying, of course, that if you are more inclusive, if your talent pool is more diverse, then you can expect your company to be more innovative, because you're using the idea of several associates from different backgrounds. Also, we're already 2 years in this pandemic. We have implemented to some degree hybrid or remote work. So I would like to say that most tools are already in place. Now, I think it might be a bit irresponsible to totally disregard these tools that we have invested on just because things are already looking up, just because things are already normalizing, right? It also reduces absenteeism. We had this experience during the January Omicron surge, wherein a great number of our associates had been identified as close contact. Some were experiencing mild symptoms, no, and we're very compliant with the mandates of the law, no, and we had to require our team members to proceed with isolation or with quarantine. But since at that time we were still doing hybrid or remote work, there are team members, those in the admin, who are only experiencing mild symptoms or they were just close contacts. They're not even manifesting any symptoms. No? If you're only requiring your team members to work on site, then there's no opportunity for them to contribute even on those days that they can actually help. Now, and gladly for our team, we had team members who had mild symptoms, but they said that no, there are lots of things that we needed to do. No? So on days that they're feeling better, they already proceeded with the deliverables, and it helped reduce absenteeism. It also impacts the environment positively. No? Imagine you no longer have to commute. Some processes we had to do it online, so there's no need to print lots of documents, not like before. No? So I think it's very helpful. It's also less susceptible to the evolving pandemic. This goes back to the earlier argument that I've said that because of the shift to alert level 1, we're already trying to move back to the previous situation. No, but we cannot say if this improvement of the situation will really continue, and shifting from one work arrangement to another takes a toll on the associates. No, I can say this based on my own experience. I've done several work arrangements. For a time, I'm working from home. For a time, we were required to report on site. And I think what's very challenging there is every time you change the work arrangement, you also need to condition yourself. No? You need to adjust. No? And I think that's what makes it difficult. No? I mean, if I'm already working from home for quite a time, then okay, so be it. If I'm already on site, then I'm fine. No, but shifting from one mode to another, it's kind of demotivating, to be very honest about it. No? So if this is something that if we want to be less susceptible to the situation, to the pandemic, then perhaps it's high time to consider hybrid work as a norm already. And then lastly, it helps us save costs, or it helps us to save costs. No, yeah, of course there are some investments that we needed to do, but in the long run, there are several savings. So, for example, when I go to work, no, the company would have to pay for my air conditioning, no, in the office, for my lighting. I'll have my breakfast, I'll have my lunch, and maybe before I go home, I have my dinner also. So the company will need to prepare all those things for me. They have to pay for all those things. Company will have to have my uniform ready when I report to work. So there are some savings from doing hybrid work. All right. So the conclusion here, I guess, no, is that yes, there are pros and cons, but if we are really serious, now if we feel that there is some value to doing remote work, then I think that it's an investment that is worth considering. No, not only investing in the resources, but also investing on the mindset, investing on the processes, how we will be able to navigate in this new normal. So if it's something that we are seriously considering, then there are things that can be done to address the challenges that we presented. Okay. So with that note, I would like to thank you all for listening, and I'll be on standby for the Q&A later. Thank you.
All right, and that is Mr. Edberg Joseph Garduce, the Director of Talent and Culture of New World Makati Hotel. Okay, thank you very much, Sir Edberg Joseph, for your topic, challenges in HR in the hospitality industry and in embracing remote work. And also, sir, thank you for discussing the reasons for considering the hybrid work setup. Indeed, we are really moving forward from the effects of this COVID-19 pandemic. Also, maraming salamat po for those insights, especially those innovations that you have shared to us all. Okay? And indeed, in these dark times, all institutions must come together and strengthen resiliency as we aim for developing new strategies as we face the new normal in the human resource department of the hospitality and tourism industry. Again, Director Garduce, maraming salamat po. And on this juncture, partner, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our beloved Dean of the School of Hospitality Management of Philippine Women's University, our mentor, Dr. Efraimwell Jose Abellana. Thank you very much, sir. And also our course advisor for Advanced Human Resource Management. Okay, good afternoon po, Dr. Angelina Blanco. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is to remind everyone to use the comment and chat section in the FB and YouTube Live for your questions. Our technical team will filter the questions to be asked during the panel discussion. And to introduce our last but definitely not the least speaker. Okay, may we call on the virtual floor, Mr. Angelito Fango.
Good afternoon, Dean Prime Abellana. Good afternoon, Professor Angelina Blanco. And to all resource speakers this afternoon. To all students, guests, good afternoon. It is my pride to introduce to you our third speaker this afternoon. Our third resource speaker this afternoon is a full-time HR practitioner for over 10 years. Currently, the HR manager of Winsome Leisure Hoteliers Incorporation, operating as Winwood Hotel located in Pasig City. She graduated at Centro Escolar University with a degree of BS Psychology and had received a diploma course, Diploma in Industrial Relations, TIP-EAR at School of Labor and Industrial Relations, UP Diliman. What makes her special? During college, her passion in customer service and employee engagement makes her stay in her career for over 10 years. To talk about related trends and reinvent new normal initiatives in the tourism and hospitality industry, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome and give her an applause, Ms. Tricia Ann El Raro.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, I hope all is well and in good health right now. So, for the committee, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this webinar. I am very pleased no, and honored for this. So first, allow me to share my screen. Okay. So for this afternoon, no, my topic to share is about human resources in the plight of pandemic. So in this discussion, I will be sharing some of my experiences as HR, and may carry on, no, during this pandemic, and may carry on, I think, beyond this pandemic. So hopefully by the end of my discussion, these experiences or our practices may assist you, no, in your respective companies. Okay, so in the discussion, I'll be sharing HR on redefining business trends, and next is managing the team. So some of our practices in our workforce, training, health and safety, and lastly, to impart some key points. No, but at first, let me share a brief background of our property. So I'm working as HR manager in Winsome Leisure Hoteliers, operating as Winwood Hotel. So we just started the operation 2016. So we are very young in this. The hotel is very young in this industry. No, so we composed of 150 rooms. So right now we are a quarantine hotel. So, but we are now in the process of multi-use hotel. No, okay. So to start, so HR on redefining business trend. So in this slide, this will be very quick because I'll be giving one very good example, no, on what is happening right now on human resources, which is human resources right now is being right now as practice as an HR business partner, no, we're in HR or human resources right now works with a bigger picture, no? So human resources right now works directly with company executive and top management so they work hand in hand in determining and steering the objectives of the human resources department, no? Focusing on the developing strategy aside from just implementing policy. So here, however, I think even before the pandemic, human resources now is not just focusing on their day-to-day administration, but rather they evolve now into more or somehow this HR business partner where they works with a bigger picture. Also, sorry. So HR role now includes also learning how the whole organization operates, no? So here, like in my property right now, I was able to or given a chance, no, to understand better, no, how really the whole operations operates, no, their core functions, how do this different departments, no, or units interact with each other. So in this way, no, we can ensure that HR strategy really fits the company's overall business strategy. No, I think this practice even more become popular during this pandemic, and in my perspective, will also continue even beyond the pandemic, since human resources now has a bigger or shared work in related to current and future business success. Okay. So how about the team? So managing the team, no? So apart from the fact that many safety measures are in place, no, to make the business going, safety measures of the team is really part now of the new normal. So it is very important to keep the team motivated, no, even especially during this situation. So with our workforce, no, some practices that we were able to adapt, no, are this. So remote work or the work from home as discussed earlier, and the flexible work arrangement or alternative work scheme. Although several companies really ends up, no, to termination because of authorized causes like retrenchment and closure of establishment, several still seek to alternative to termination. So I'm very proud to say that in our property, we were able to manage to keep most of our staff. Even our restaurants right now is placed under indefinite closure, no? So even despite of this, we were able to manage to keep most of our staff. So one of this is by adopting the remote work as discussed earlier by our second speaker. But I agree, this kind of practice is not really applicable to all, especially in our industry. So most of this is applied to back offices. So with other operations like the housekeeping, the front office, so we were able to adopt this flexible work arrangement or alternative work scheme like assignment to other function. So as I mentioned, since our restaurants has been placed into indefinite closure, so most of our F&B staff were assigned to other function. So most of them are in place with in the housekeeping as housekeeping attendants, and then also in the front office as bellman. So here we go back to their previous evaluations, and we were able to talk to them again one by one to know where they can really fit in. And another alternative work scheme that we were able to adopt is the job rotation. So here we make sure that the fair distribution of duties is implemented. No, another one is the reduction of days. So we also sort on this because we really have to do this, no, to be able to balance the needs of the management, the company, and also the people. Okay, so when it comes to training, no, so during this pandemic, training our employees became one of the critical part, especially with the safety measure that we should be implementing. So in the earlier part of the pandemic, so we took advantage of the slow period, no, to train our teams, especially in the health and safety protocols that we will be needing to keep the business going. So adding to this is the assignment of other staff to other functions. So really the training became an important part of this pandemic. So another situation is since limited face-to-face interaction is part of the health protocol. So this is where virtual trainings took part. So here, some e-learning materials was made, no, especially when it comes to health and safety protocols. So here, my team is in charge of this if it is really cascaded properly and implemented. So the HR team really go out, no, to make sure that it is cascaded. So we have this monitoring sheets, and then we go by department to be able to know if this is really implemented and cascaded properly. So again, and then to continue the learning and enhancements of skills, we are now in the process of continuing and drafting the e-learning modules for each department, especially the operations, no, with the help of our department heads. Okay. E-learning materials. So when it comes to health and safety, so of course, here, workers' prevention and control of COVID-19 guidelines is in place as I think most of the industry right now. So here, this is properly cascaded and reminded all the time by the health and safety officer assigned. So our company, when it comes to employees' wellness, so our company were able to invite some medical practitioners, no, in partnership with our outsourced clinic to have a virtual talks about health and wellness, especially when it comes to mental awareness. no? And then some of the medical benefit, no, in replacement of some of the employees benefit, postponement of employees benefit, because when pandemic hits us, some of our annual gatherings like the annual company outing, annual social gathering were postponed for the meantime. So our company were able to give alternatives, no, to this benefit. So these are some medical benefit like on-site free flu vaccine for all staff, and then we also have this extended leave, no, for all our employees, especially to those who has been affected by the virus. And so these practices we're continuously doing, no, we are continuously doing this to keep our staff motivated and at the same time for their safety. Okay, so for the next slides, no, I'll be sharing some of the pictures of our safety protocols that are in place right now. Okay, so here first is the hotel staff lockers. So here, before pandemic, this is as usual open to all staff. But when pandemic hits us, no, it is only intended for our PPE staff. Okay. So how about, ma'am, the non-PPE staff? So since our gym is not in use right now, no, so we were able to convert this first to our hotel employees' washroom for the back offices. Okay. And then this is one of the example of a back office, no, so intended for non-PPE. So if ever there will be some employees that really needs to interact with back office, no, so they have to disinfect first before they can enter a non-PPE office. And then this is one of our restaurant, no, as mentioned, it was placed in under indefinite closure. So we were able to convert this first for the meantime as break area for our staff, for where they can take their lunch and dinner. So as you can see, designated number of staff is in place, and also departments, no, so this one were in place to cater social distancing. Okay, so for my last presentation, no, some key points, I want to share my two important personal key points, no, or learning during this pandemic, and I think maybe carry on, no, even after this pandemic. So allow me to read this to you. So during and beyond this pandemic, no, flexibility is one of the most important aspects. So although this pandemic crisis feels almost over, still there is uncertainty, especially in this kind of business. So while normality as we once knew, it may never return, the fact that the worst part of this crisis appears to be behind us, leaving us to figure out what comes next. So this period has forever impacted how we work and how we see work fitting into the rest of our lives. Maybe in the easiest way, I just want to say that even how prepared we are, no, we can never be ready in this kind of situation like pandemic. So it's really more of a trial and error, no? We are on the trial and error process. But moving forward with flexibility in mind may help each other and our companies to succeed again, and is essential to business survival. And lastly, reducing cost is a priority as well as safety. So up to now, many industries has thought about reducing costs as much as possible, which is very understandable. But despite of this, we should always remember that we must socially responsible in looking out for the safety both of our guests and of course our employees. So again, thank you very much for listening to my very short, and I hope you got a very meaningful key points, no, or takeaways. Thank you. Stay safe.
Ms. Tricia, I totally agree. Beyond hiring and training, there are higher HR responsibilities that is needed to be considered in the resumption of our industry, such as safety, health, alternative work schemes, and training actually in the preparation of the resumption. Ms. Trisha, thank you so much for sharing us those initiatives of your company and for helping us also to look forward in mitigating the expected preparation in this new normal. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Ms. Trisha Ann Lugdo-Raro, the HR Manager of Winsome Leisure Hoteliers Incorporated. We certainly learned so much innovations and updates in your presentation. And now, we have come to the most awaited part as we bring in the experts and masters of human resource management in the Philippines to answer and exchange ideas in the panel discussion. May we humbly ask the presence again of our dear experts to turn on their cameras and of course, turn on also your microphones. Thank you. Okay. Sir Eugene.
So to start, okay, this question is for the three of you, the three speakers. This is from Mr. Lumage. Okay, so ma'am and sirs, during the surge of COVID-19 pandemic, a high unemployment rate impacted the displacement of tourism and hospitality professionals, including those in destination communities. As the industry reduced its need for manpower, can you tell us more about the programs implemented in your organization as part of the corporate social responsibility towards employees? Sir RL?
Okay, maybe I can begin, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, first of all, we have to keep in mind, as pointed out by Mr. Edberg a while ago, that we have to strike a balance between care and the business side. Because at the end of the day, hotels are operating a business, not a charitable institution. I don't want to sound mean, but at the end of the day, we can only survive if we focus on the business goals. And therefore, the question of Mr. Lumage, when it comes to unemployment and how the company, or hotel companies provide or the programs for corporate social responsibility, we have to keep in mind that the number of employment opportunities that we can extend to our wider community is highly dependent to the business level. On that note, when it comes to employment stability or number of opportunities that we can offer to our wider community, this pandemic made it very, very difficult for human resources to really offer such thing. Because in fact, the organic employees in our respective properties are also affected by pandemic. And it is not a secret that during the pandemic, with a heavy heart, it's very hard for us to let go of our own people in the industry because of the business level. But to answer the question right now, because of the easing of restrictions right now and of the forecast of better business when it comes to tourism industry, we have started to rekindle our relationship with some of our partnered schools. Remember a while ago, I have shared that we are fortunate. We are connected with SM Foundation. I'm sure all of you are familiar with SM Foundation. So this is the CSR arm of SM Group of Companies established by the late Mr. Henry C. And Mr. Henry C. Always believed that it is a must for organizations to reach out to the wider community. SM Scholars is one of the prominent programs of SM Foundation. So it provides scholarship programs to various less fortunate individuals in the community. And our role as partner or part of the SM group of companies is to provide employment opportunities to these scholars. One of the schools that we are supporting for the past 20 years in the hotel business is Punlaan School. So this Punlaan School is a tech voc college, and their graduates, we always entertain them to our hotels. In fact, last quarter of 2021, we were able to accept, I think, around 10 to 15 graduates of Punlaan School. And we always give them an opportunity to be considered to be part of our hotels now from Luzon to Mindanao. So that's it. I just want to put the right context when it comes to CSR right now because it's important. But at the end of the day, we also have to consider the business side of the situation.
Yeah, it's good to hear the efforts of your organization, sir. Na in spite we are facing these challenges, you still provide your best effort to the community. Okay? So how about the CSR of New World Makati, Sir Edberg?
Okay, thank you, Eugene. And yes, I'm glad that Mr. Garcia started with that note because, yeah, I cannot sugarcoat it. The pandemic has really affected us very badly. No, but I think for the side of New World Makati Hotel, comparing ourselves with other hotels in Makati within our competitive set, I would like to think that we were quite slow to remove people involuntarily, meaning it's not something that we have easily considered that, okay, the business is not doing good, so let's retrench them. No, it took us a couple of months before we proceeded with it, as it was already necessary at that time. As much as possible, we wanted to really keep the manning that we have. No, so that's one of the stand that we employed during the first part of the lockdown. Also, instead of removing those in segments of the business that are in partial closure, like the restaurants, the gym, we reassign them to other areas, and we reviewed their credentials and willingness. For some, they have also trained. No, this is, for example, can you imagine a waiter helping in the laundry department? No, others are not really open at first. They were considering the possibility of going back to their normal jobs. But when they realized that it might take a while, when they told us that they're willing to be trained, then we invested some time for them to be more familiar with the tasks that they will need to do in line with our multi-skilling. Maybe aside from unemployment, I would like to mention also underemployment as a problem during this pandemic. Of course, you can be employed, but you might not be working full time. No, you might be employed, but in terms of benefits, in terms of compensation, you might not be getting what you should get. No, so for us in New World Makati Hotel, we allowed associates to maximize the use of their leaves early in the year. No, and we were not too strict. No, for example, if we're saying that you have this certain number of sick leaves. If you are no longer allowed to report to work, but you're not really sick, we allowed these associates to already use their sick leave credits just so that they can be paid. All right. And then, of course, we were tempted to suspend the benefits, but I think I can say that for the past 2 years, we were able to really be creative and still proceed with the promised benefits like the rice subsidy, the financial assistance that we give regularly. In fact, we had to reallocate some of our budget for activities as financial help to our colleagues. Now, it's not much, of course. If you do it as an activity, it can be grand, but if you quantify it as financial help, it's just a couple of thousand pesos. But at that time, it was really very helpful. We also tried to, at least for the year 2020, we released the 13th month pay quite early. At around May, we already released our 13th month pay just so that we can help our associates already. We formalized our process for outside employment. We recognize that if you're currently working with New World Makati Hotel and you're not really given full-time schedule, then it's okay, at least during that time, for you to get part-time work. So we just needed to formalize the process. We're not saying that we're totally against it. In fact, we're encouraging it, but we wanted to set the rules correctly. That there should be no conflict of interest, of course. And yes, we also implemented reduction of work days, but the weight of this is really more on the managers. So for example, the regular staff would only have their work days reduced for let's say 5 days, for the month. But for our managers, we had to maybe double it for some. Thinking, of course, it's not always true, but we would like to think that perhaps the managers would be more prepared to take the brunt of the financial challenges. So yes, now that things are improving, we have this commitment of rehiring those colleagues who have been retrenched. In fact, some of them have already rejoined us. So that's what we told them when we were at that difficult process of letting them go. That you have this commitment that when things normalize and if you're still available and interested, we will prioritize you. And we're very true to that. As I've said, some of them are already part of us again. And in terms of practicum training as a CSR, I believe that we are one of the first hotels that we have done this. Last January, we already took that risk of getting in some of our students from several schools, and we are already looking at getting the second batch to be deployed later this month. That's it for New World.
Okay, so I'm very glad to hear as well that we are now back in terms of the human resources part of our industry. And Miss Trisha, how about in your organization?
For us, no, in Winwood, maybe in my presentation earlier, no, I mentioned that in this pandemic situation, no, tourism industry and especially the hotel industry is one of the really the most affected industry during this pandemic. So for us, as mentioned in my presentation, we were able to keep most of our staff. There are very minimal, no, that has been retrenched with us, but very minimal because, as mentioned, we were able to adapt. No, our focus really is to not to help our employees, no, so we really adopt some flexible arrangement, no, alternative work scheme like this, like the New World, no, assignment to other function. So we really explained, we were be transparent to our staff what we are going through right now, so for us to be able, for them also to be able to understand that it's not like we really have to balance everything, the management, the needs of the company, and of course the employees. So we really have to work, no, on this. So rotation of work duties, no, and then we also implemented reduction of work days, that reduction of work weeks, no, for some other staff. Same with New World, it's mostly for the managers, no. So we were able to explain this to our employees before implementing, so they can be in place, no, in our strategy to keep the business going. And now that the situation is gradually, no, going through and more on easy, no, we are now on alert level 1, no. So gradually we're opening our doors also. So we have some openings. No, if you can visit our website, it's also in our career page, winwood.com.ph. And then hopefully soon we can return our mga OJTs. No, but right now I'm just checking, no, because we're still a quarantine facility. So maybe if things go better and we were able to get our accreditation as multi-use, no, the protocols will be more easy. So maybe soon we will be opening our doors for schools for accepting OJTs again. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Trisha. So as we transition to the new normal in terms of human resource management, it's really nice to hear plans from different lenses coming from your companies. And it really shows that a brighter future is waiting for us. Okay, in terms of providing human resources in the industry. Okay? For the second question, partner?
Okay, partner. Grabe, nakakakilig, no? We are really returning back. The industry is actually at the corner, right, of the resumption. Well, to acknowledge, we have 430 participants in the Zoom, in the FB Live and in the YouTube Live combined. So congratulations. We are also viral now. There are so much questions actually turning in, but we just chose some of the most relevant questions for our three experts for this afternoon. Now, Sir RL, Mr. Edberg, and Ms. Tricia, this is the next question from Ms. Montinola. And the question goes like this. We all know that the hospitality and tourism industry, as I've said, is slowly moving forward and gradually reopening its doors to our guests. Now, as human resource directors and heads of your department, are your employees ready and actually conditioned to face the challenges of the post-pandemic era? Maybe let's start with, at this point, let's start with Sir Edberg.
Okay, thank you. So, well, at this point, since we're already 2 years into the pandemic, I would like to think that those who have stayed are those who are really prepared, for the post-pandemic era. Because as I've said earlier in my sharing, several of our or most of our resignations are the reason that they've shared is really due to the pandemic. They felt unsafe. But right now, 2 years into the pandemic, we're kind of used to it already. It's already part of our second nature. No, we no longer have to remind them that okay, you need to wear your mask, you need to frequently sanitize your hands. No, so that's we're already prepared in that manner. Mentally speaking, I would like to say also that those who have stayed are those who have been quite hopeful that things will improve. No, and since things are already looking up, I've had my several conversation with my with my team members whenever I get to report on site, no, and they're really excited. No, and we're just trying to manage everyone's expectations because we already felt this way last November, last December.
Yes.
No, we were very busy. Then the Omicron happened. No, so we're trying to temper everyone's expectation because we do not want to be disheartened once again. No, so in terms of preparedness, logistically speaking, yes, we're ready. Mentally, yes, in terms of trainings, we've been consistent in doing that. Despite the arrangement, we're doing it online. So we're really, all these past several months, we're really gearing towards this. So we're very much prepared.
Thank you so much, Sir Edward. Yes, I totally agree that we should temper everything first because maybe these are just being done because the election is coming, no? But yes, it's still a positive way to look at it that we are returning back. But of course, as said by Sir Edberg, let's do it one step at a time. Now, Ms. Tricia, your thoughts about this?
I totally agree. No, for us, it's a yes. I think we are ready for this post-pandemic. Honestly, during the first year of pandemic, of course, it's really very difficult, no, especially with all the health and safety protocols that you have to implement, no, to be in place. The trainings that you should done with all your staff, no, really the first part always every day you have to remind them, no, it's really part of your of my duties, no, even sa madaling araw, because of course hotel industry is 24 hours, so you have to be parang security guard also, no, so it's very hard, especially for human resources, no, to make sure that it is implemented, no, especially those safety and health protocols. But right now we are now in second year, no, we are used to it. So I'm very happy when I go around our properties, our property. So 95% I don't have to remind, no, but of course every day I'm so makulit, no, in our Viber groups in reminding, but I'm very happy that most of our staff, no, really learned, no, especially during the Delta and this Omicron. So yes, I think we're really ready for this post-pandemic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
An assurance from Miss Trisha, we are ready. They are ready. And the employees are actually ready for this pandemic. Thank you, Miss Trisha, for that answer. And of course, last but definitely not the least, Sir R.L. Garcia. Sir R.L., your thoughts about this?
Yeah, thank you. I absolutely agree, no, to the two esteemed speakers, no, when they have claimed that their employees are ready, and I would like also to claim that all our employees in SM Hotels and Convention Center are ready. I think the main factor why they are ready is the excitement that all of us are sharing, because this post-pandemic situation is something that we are really looking forward to happening since yesterday. I would like to start on that note. But I would like also to reinforce the caution that sometimes if we are so used to these things, it will pose a threat of complacency, which as HR, something that we are very mindful about, that since our employees are so used to these things, and as we welcome the post-pandemic situation in the hospitality industry, we don't want to let our guards down, as pointed out a while ago. We want to continue listening to our employees, making sure that the things that will hamper them to better perform their duties and responsibilities as we move forward are taken into consideration. And in HR, we have to be proactive in addressing these concerns that might arise in the next coming years. Because same with the pandemic, this post-pandemic situation will be totally new to us. And therefore, the same set of preparations or actions that we have taken during the pandemic should be still there as we move forward.
Thank you so much, Sir RL, for that wonderful answer of that particular question. Let us be cautious. Hindi porket we are used to it, we will not observe it already as managers. Maraming salamat, Sir RL. Sir Eugene, the next set of questions.
Okay. So since we are receiving a lot of questions, both here in Zoom and in FB and YouTube Live, I think we can accommodate several questions pa, Sir Chef Abraham, right?
Of course.
So this question is from Sayan, okay? And this question is directed to Mr. RL. So Sir RL, how do you make sure that both your employees and customers are being treated beyond satisfactory?
It's very interesting because the definition of satisfaction right now also shifted. Because before pandemic, there is a different set of parameters for us to determine whether our guests are satisfied or not. But because of pandemic, these priorities or parameters about satisfaction also evolve. Safety and security are both important since before the pandemic, but it was highlighted and become a necessity because of pandemic. Diba? Before, I think most of the guests checking in our hotels, they are more after the facilities. They are more after the food and all those criteria. But because of this pandemic, the guests now are more after the safety and security, the cleanliness, diba? The confidence that they are safe when they will check in our hotels. So on that note, when the question was, how are we going to make sure that both the employees and guests share the same level of satisfaction? I think for human resources and organizations, we have to start first defining what satisfaction truly means, especially during this post-pandemic. And from that, I think we can now develop action plans on how we can make sure that that satisfaction will be addressed. Off the bat, I think safety and security will always be a determinant of satisfaction, even in post-pandemic. And then the second one, I think, is also the innovativeness of the hospitality institutions or organizations in offering new things as we transition from pandemic to post-pandemic. I'm sure the facilities right now are being renovated for some of the um, properties. In fact, in Taal Vista, our swimming pool and some of our rooms were renovated during pandemic because we believe that new rooms and fully renovated facilities will entice guests to check in our property. Same with our property in Batangas, in Pico de Loro. We have also conducted several renovations, improving our infrastructure with the hope that this will also satisfy our guests or customers. When it comes to our employees, we have also redefined our benefit programs. In fact, we have partnered to different institutions to provide our employees new sets of benefits like free mental health consultation, so that if they will have these moments when they feel that they are down, they don't have to worry about the consultation fee. They can just go into that platform. We're in as SM employees, you have the privilege to schedule a consultation for free for mental health. And we have also increased some budgets when it comes to health programs. And lastly, moving forward, we are really committed to, again, listen to them, through different communication platforms.
Thank you so much, Sir RL. I totally agree with that. In order for us to define really what is really satisfactory, let us know what our employees and our customers needs, and that is truly a good answer. Safety and security is really the number one priority na dati hindi natin masyado pinapansin, right? But now even the alcohol content, if it is 70% or 50%, everything is really directed towards health and safety. And we really appreciate the support that SM hotels and conventions are giving to their employees. They are very, very lucky. Thank you so much, Sir RL, for that. And of course, I have another question, and now this one is directed to Mr. Ed Berg. Sir, this is still from our very active Facebook user and participant, Ms. Sayan. Mr. Edberg, how do you deal with the employees that wants to resign when you need them the most?
Okay, so that's a reality that we have encountered. No? And well, again, I'll go back to my earlier point that HR is a balancing act. I will have to understand first why this person would want to resign. Of course, there's this need for the company to have this person work, but also I wouldn't want to totally neglect the reason or not consider the reason why this person would want to resign. In my own experience during this pandemic, when the lockdowns, when the first lockdown was implemented, no, I don't think it's too much to say that I really made myself available 24/7. No, usually I do not communicate with my colleagues through Messenger, but at that time, no, I made myself open. No, if there are some associates from other departments who do not know my contact details, but for some reason they're able to find me on Facebook, then I entertain them, which is not a thing that I normally do. But of course, it's an extraordinary situation. If I was worried regarding my employment, regarding my finances at that time, then also I considered that those who might not be that fortunate would have the same concerns. No, so yes, I made myself available, and then I tried to listen to them. One thing that I asked them is, what really is your reason? What really is the primary reason why you are considering to resign? We have this need for you. Things are not okay at this point, but it's not always like this. We are confident that in time, perhaps with the development of vaccine or maybe with the medicine against COVID, that things will improve. No, but if I hear that the reason of this person is actually quite valid, it's something that I cannot really answer on my own. So for example, if this person is claiming that there's already this opportunity with another company or maybe with another industry that would allow him or her to work remotely, to be safer, against the pandemic, then I just share my advice. Of course, as HR, I cannot. It's not really proper for me to to recommend to that person that okay, sige, you proceed with your resignation. But I share my thoughts that it's easy to go out of the industry right now, but going back might be a different story. So if you're considering a career shift because of this pandemic, then really think about it. If this is something that you would want, then if I see that it's a decision that has been considered, that has been thought out well, then it's not very difficult for me to accept the decision of the person. Again, there's a need for us to retain that person, but yeah, we have to respect where this person is coming from. And as HR, we just have to move forward. If this person has resigned, then I will need to look for a replacement. If it's an urgent need, then I will have to move fast to look for a replacement. That's my take on this. Thank you.
That's our duty as HR managers and directors. We need to replace those employees that is really important, an important aspect or tool in our company. And I like your answer, sir, that we need to be there because at least we are there, right? Maybe because they just need somebody to talk to, right?
Yes, for me, I just want them to really think about it well. If I'm convinced that it's a decision that they have really considered, then I'm fine. At least I think I've done my duty not only as HR, but as maybe as a friend or as a person.
Yes, I do agree on that. I do agree on that. And also, really, the company has nothing to offer at that time, at that particular time. That's why being there is really the most noble thing of an HR manager can do. Maraming salamat, Mr. Edward, for that. Sir Eugene?
And yeah, and for our last question, so this is directed to Miss Raro. Okay, so this is from one of our Facebook viewers. Okay, so for Miss Raro, what are your thoughts and future plans on practicum for students?
The usual, no, before pandemic, of course, we're open to all operations, no, and back offices. But right now, since we're still in pandemic situation, no, uncertainty, and there is also health and safety protocols, of course, whatever are in place for our employees, no, especially with our safe health and safety protocols, will be also implemented for all our future OJTs, no, soon. So we will be planning to partnership again to different schools, no. So hopefully, maybe second quarter, I'll just checking, no, our situation right now if we are really ready to accept OJTs right now. So, but maybe second quarter or the third quarter, we will be opening our applications to all schools, no? And then we will be implementing, of course, some of course, these are students, no? These are still students, so there are additional forms, no, that they have to undergo, no, with their guardians or parents, no, since we are still in the pandemic, so we really have to have their authorization with this, no. So because we really don't know what will happen, but of course, health and safety protocols will be in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Trisha Raro. Yeah, we are really looking forward to the resumption also of our OJT, our face-to-face practicums of our students. Maraming salamat that your particular company is actually really very welcoming also and really excited to accept us with all of that particular protocols also applied to our students. Maraming salamat, Miss Trisha. And now I think this would be the last question for everybody, and it will be a form of an insight also. This question particularly is from our very own advisor of human resource subject, Dr. Angie Blanco. And her question is, what is your message for the graduating HRM students who are graduating but no job vacancies that the industry could offer at this moment. Yet, because the hotels are still at the pandemic. So again, what is your message for the graduating students who are graduating but no job vacancies in the hotel due to the pandemic? So let us start off with Sir RL, Sir RL Garcia.
I would like to go back to the title of my presentation. So my message is stay mindful and stay hopeful. Okay. And I would like also to advertise that in our company, SM Hotels and Conventions Corp, just to give some hope and talking about hope, we already got a green light to proceed with many projects that were postponed because of pandemic. In fact, one of our properties in Clark will open soon. So that will be Q2 of 2022. So our convention center attached to the newly expanded Park Inn by Radisson Clark will be welcoming convention goers starting Q2. And then there is already a big hotel opening up by early next year in front of SM by the Bay. So that is across Conrad, Manila, which is also one of the properties of SM Hotels. And there are also, I think, around 9 to 10 projects on the drawing board. So I am sharing these details not to boast about our company, but to give hope that yes, there is still a future. It's not yet the end, no? And be mindful, stay hopeful.
Maraming salamat. Last message of Sir RL, be hopeful, stay mindful, and of course, believe in our industry. Maraming salamat, Sir RL Garcia. And now, Sir Edward Garduce.
Thank you, Abram. No, so I got asked the same question last quarter of 2021 when I was also invited in another institution. Hello nga pala kay Dean Angie. Hope to see you soon in person. So yes, when I was asked this question, October 2021, I was also very hopeful at that time. No? And now that we are already at alert level 1, I would like to retain the same enthusiasm, maybe if not exceed it a bit, no? Because we've been into this pandemic for 2 years already. I would like to think that we're already past the most difficult stage. I would really like to think that that's the reality now. And if at October 2021, I was already telling the students that there is hope for the industry, then there is really more now. No? Yes, we are still in the pandemic, but in the case of New World Makati Hotel, there are already several vacancies that we are advertising. That's also the reason why I shared with you earlier the link to our LinkedIn page. So if you are really serious about getting a career in the hospitality industry and maybe joining us in New World Makati Hotel, please follow us to stay updated of our vacancies. And then like SM Hotels and Conventions, there are also several properties that have been announced for at least for the Rosewood Hotel Group, not specifically in the Philippines, but if you're considering to work within the Southeast Asia region, then there are already some properties that have been announced in the past 2 years that are already in the pipeline. So things are looking up, and I would like to think that, of course, hotel work this is part of the service industry. You're here because there is passion for you to serve. And if you're truly passionate about serving, about this kind of work, then you should hold on to it, no? And hold on to the hope and don't be disheartened. No? We're just kind of susceptible to these external factors, but I truly believe that passion can move mountains. So that's it for my sharing.
Maraming salamat, Sir Edberg. Be passionate. Passion will move you further than your dreams. Maraming salamat, Sir Edberg. And please send your CVs to New World Makati Hotels. Maraming salamat po. And last, of course, but definitely not the least, Miss Trisha Raro. Miss Trisha?
Don't lose hope don't lose your passion, especially now that our situation is getting lighter and lighter. So many industries will go back. No, maybe I have openings right now, few openings, but many hotels right now are getting back really. So you just have to expand your network, just like this. No, continue this kind of practice. No, to learn. No, so even now you're not unemployed or you're still the students, your skills, no, skills enhancement is continuing. So when the right time comes, then um, the industry will be open for you. So don't lose hope. Thank you.
Maraming salamat for those final words, Miss Trisha. Do not lose hope. Sabi nga, pray hard, it works. Thank you so much, Miss Trisha, Sir RL, and of course, Sir Edward. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we want more time for our dear experts here to answer more questions, but we hate to bring it up to everybody that we have come to the end of the panel discussion. Sir Eugene?
Okay, again, thank you very much to all our industry experts. Okay, and to provide us with a synthesis of what has transpired during this webinar, may we invite one of the DHM organizers, Miss Aiza Menyano. Miss Aiza.
Thank you, Sir Eugene. So, first of all, good afternoon to our eloquent and credible speakers and to our listeners for this afternoon. So, for a quick recap of our webinar, so our first speaker is Mr. R.L. Fernando Garcia, which entitled Mindful Organizations, Human Resources Role in Promoting Employee Well-being, Productivity, and Firm Performance. So the main highlight of the talk is the importance of mindfulness in the workplace. We say mindful or being mindful is being not overly reactive by what is going on around us. I also agree with Mr. RL that through understanding the problem, top priority is to understand the employees. So he also introduced the importance of the four main pillars of well-being, which consist of mental and emotional, physical, financial, and community well-being. So these four pillars combine to provide the foundation of a great well-being. So lastly, if we make small changes in our day-to-day lives, we will feel big benefits in return. So for our second speaker, which is Mr. Edberg Joseph Garduse, so in his title, The Challenges of HR in the Hospitality Industry in Embracing Remote Work. So he emphasizes the impact of the pandemic on most hotels, such as travel restrictions, market demands has been limited, and closure of some hotels temporarily or permanently. And he explained that through the implementation of remote work, employees in the hotel can experience increased productivity and can better focus for extended periods of time, meaning they can potentially get their work done faster. So in addition, it makes workers happy and encourages diversity and inclusion. So lastly, for second topic, remote working in the hospitality industry leaves employees with more time for personal matters and promotes better work life. So for our last speaker, which is Ms. Tricia, mentioned on her title, Human Resource in the Plight of Pandemic. So she mentioned about the importance, the important role of human resource in the workplace during this pandemic. So she mentioned how HR redefining business trends by working with bigger picture and focusing on developing strategies that will benefit the employees in an organization. So in addition to that, she mentioned how to empower a workforce in an organization by implementing remote work, flexible work arrangements, virtual training, health and safety, and employee wellness. So therefore, flexibility in business is important because it makes employees feel more valued while building trust and fostering a more creative working environment. So that's all for the recap, and thank you so much.
Again, Miss Aiza, maraming salamat. To our most respected expert, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garduce, and Miss Raro, buong puso pong pasasalamat sa inyong panahon at oras and for sharing those insights, for sharing those innovations that we will be using in facing the new normal. And of course, to present the certificate of recognition. And the Philippine Women's University School of Hospitality Management Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to as guest speaker for imparting his valuable insights and expertise during the virtual webinar entitled Trailblazing, the Framework of Human Resource Management Navigating the Pandemic and Beyond via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Given this 5th day of March 2022 at the Philippine Women's University, Taft Avenue, Manila, Philippines. Signed by our professor, Dr. Angelina U. Blanco, and the Cluster Dean of School of Food Science and Technology, Tourism and Hospitality, Dr. Epramuel Jose L. Avellana. This certificate is awarded to Mr. R.L. Fernando Garcia. Of course, the next certificate of appreciation is awarded to Mr. Edward Joseph Garduce. Last but definitely not the least, this certificate is also awarded to Ms. Trisha Ann L. Raro. Maraming salamat po, Sir Eugene.
Okay, so again, thank you very much, our dear experts. And to give us the closing message, may we call in the reason of our strong bond as a class, and with her guidance, we made it through this webinar with flying colors. Please help me welcome our dear advisor, Dr. Angelina U. Blanco. Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Doc.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Doc.
Yung video ko yata hindi mabuksan. Open the video. Can you hear me? Or can you see me?
Okay, Doc.
Yeah, but can you see me? Ayan na. Can you see me? Yeah? Okay. Yes? Okay, there you go. So a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. I am very pleased to see my colleagues from the Association of HR Managers in the Organization of HR Managers and Directors. So, pleasant good afternoon to Dean Prime, to my fellow faculty, to our students from the different schools. We have come to the end of a very fruitful, enlightening, productive webinar entitled Trailblazing, the Framework of HRM Navigating the Pandemic and Beyond. So congratulations to my class, to the organizing committee for DHM Advanced HR, headed by Ms. Jackie Diamante, and the whole team at that. So thank you to our speakers, to our expert HR practitioners, Mr. R.L. Fernando, Mr. Edward Gartuche, and Ms. Trisha Raro. Trivia lang, no, kay Sir R.L. Sir R.L. was a former staff, what's 12 years ago. And I remember nagpapaalam din siya mag-resign. So, nagpapaalam din siya mag-resign sa akin. To go, of course, to a better place. A more productive and, syempre, upliftment of his career. So when I heard his reason, go, for your advancement, of course, I want him to grow. And look at him now, ha? Kung hindi ko siya pinayagan, hindi siya HR ng SM ngayon. So congratulations, RL. You've gone a long way. I'm very proud of you. No? And also, Sir Edward, my colleague in HR. Alam niyo, nag-umpisa yan sa New World, OJT. Really? OJT. 12 years, ha? 12 years. OJT, naging HR clerk, naging HR assistant, naging HR supervisor, naging HR manager. And look at him now. He is now the HR director. So again, bagong promote yan. Palakpakan natin si Sir Edward, ha? Bagong promote yan.
Congratulations, sir.
I'm very proud of you, Edward.
Thank you, Doc Angie.
Yes, and of course, Miss Tricia, hope you will join our association. I'll send you an invitation.
Hopefully, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
thank you for your time and expertise, everybody. We learned a lot, and hope also our audience learned a lot from your experiences from the pandemic. Of course, everybody has no experience in the pandemic. This is the first time. And now experience na kayo. 2 years, 2 years. So we'd also like to thank participants from the other schools, no? Both faculty and students. So HR is really very challenging. Nasa gitna ka eh, no? You are in between the management and the people. The HR, the most important asset, the people, most important asset of the organization. So tama, sabi niya, we should maintain a balancing act. No? Hindi mo na malaman saan ka lalagay eh. Okay, so with that, we bring to a close our very successful webinar. And we are glad that there are many properties opening for our new graduates. Ha? Kita nyo naman, ang daming sinabi ni Sir RL. There's a new SMX Clark Convention Center in Pampanga. And they have 9 other branches opening in different parts of the country. So, also the same with Sir Edward, no? Napakaraming bubuksan. So, na-delay lang nga ng 2 years, but it's coming. It's coming, and HR graduates, be ready, no? Be ready. So, as our speaker said, Sir RL said, be mindful and hopeful. Sir Edward said, be passionate. And Miss Tricia said, never lose hope. With that, we'd like to thank everyone. Don't forget to fill up the evaluation form for your certificate. And we'd like to say thank you. Stay safe. Be positive. We are ahead. We are coming to exciting times for a new economy, a better situation, a better tourism and hospitality. So with that, mabuhay. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Angie Blanco. This webinar will not be possible without your exceptional leadership. Of course, in moving forward in excellence, maraming salamat po sa panahon at suporta, Dr. Angie. And of course, the leadership of our very passionate webinar chairwoman, Ms. Jackie Diamante, and to the rest of the hardworking team of DHM class under the subject Advanced Human Resource Management. Congratulations to all. Sir Eugene?
Okay, so flashed on your screen right now is the QR code for the evaluation of today's event. And the same link is now being added in the comment box from in YouTube and Facebook Live as we speak. So we would appreciate, or we would highly appreciate your feedback on this webinar. This evaluation will also be the basis for the sending of our participants' individual e-certificate. So we will be giving you until 10 a.m. tomorrow to accomplish the said evaluation form. Our evaluation team shall update you via email for the said certificates. And in case of any follow-up with regards to your e-certificates, please contact the email address being flashed on your screen.
Thank you so much. And yes, this is the end of our webinar. To our participants coming all over from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and to the rest of the world, we really appreciate you being here today. We really hope that you have enjoyed and absorbed all the learnings and discussions we had this afternoon. To our dear guest speakers for the shared insights, maraming salamat on behalf of the organizing team. We extend our deepest gratitude and for your participation in this live presence in this webinar. Once again, I am Chef Abram Emmanuel Peralta, and together with the PW Doctors of Hospitality Management students, we thank you for joining us today and reminding each and everyone that each and everyone, customer service is not a department, it is an attitude. That's all, and thank you, and we are always at your service. Thank you, Sir Eugene.
Thank you, partner. And my name is Mr. Eugene Emmanuel Benigta, who also wishes you a resilient, safe, and healthy day ahead. So it is now time for the singing of the Philippine Women's University hymn. Thank you very much.